Well, I think that people think influence and influencers will always out there and always know what they're doing and always know what the next step is. And that's why they always seem to have it together. Because if we think about influencers in our cultures in the world, their lives always look so wonderful and they're always in the right place at the right time and talking to the right people. But you don't know that maybe they have those doubts. They've had their rough times. They've had their times when they weren't sure what to do to get to that point.
A strong and independent woman is something to behold. She pays her own bills, buys her own things, and she doesn't let a man affect her stability or self-confidence. She is a soul-rich woman. Are you ready to be rich doing what you love? Be on purpose and in control of your life again. At For Women Who Love the F Word podcast, we will be openly talking about getting more clients online, getting recognition as the leader and female entrepreneur, and also the F word, being fabulous, having freedom, and financial independence. It's time to own and love the F word. Welcome to the show. On today's show, Woman of Influence, we have a special guest who is a great friend who has interviewed Soul Rich Woman before. She is Deborah A. Bailey. She is called Coach Deb on her Women Entrepreneurs Radio podcast. And that was where I got to meet her. She's a writer, she's a coach, and a storyteller. She loves to bring stories to life and stories of a guest that she interviews on her podcast about the experiences that she writes about and the characters that she creates in her fictional worlds. She's super awesome and super amazing. She has wrote a book, she has got a blog, she has got like podcasts and even media company as well. And she has like spoken and presented workshops to organizations such as Ladies Who Launch and the College of the NJ, Dress for Success, Hudson Country, and many more. So let's welcome our dear friend, Deborah Bailey.
Hi, how are you? So glad to be here.
Hello, Deb. So good to see you today. Thank you for being on our show. Why don't you want to introduce tell us a little bit more about yourself?
Well, you told so much. I don't know what else to say. Well, let's see. I was a copywriter, an English major, and then I turned into a computer programmer, changed careers, and then I decided to leave corporate and started business being a freelance writer. And then I took coaching classes and learned about coaching. So I'm one of those people that has all these different ideas and wants to try everything that I can, which is why I have so many things going on right now. And I'm really excited about that because I love to talk to people, and especially my podcast and in here, my first live video. And I'm just really excited to be here and to share and spend time with you because we had so much fun on my podcast. I really enjoyed it.
And when you're when you're doing all these things, so when do you first know the power of influence?
Well, I think when we were talking earlier about some of my opportunities to be on mention, like say I have a article I wrote that's on CNN.com's website. I think I learned then when I wrote my first book, Think Like an Entrepreneur, that you could influence other people by just sharing your own story. And I wrote about my journey in corporate and how I had to change the way I thought so that I could now move out of that mindset and really be trusting myself more, my intuition, trusting my creativity. So I wrote that all in a book, and it took about 6 months, and then I published it, and I got assistance to help publicize it and got opportunities to write about it and write articles and get quoted. And that's what I realized about influence. You never know how you can help someone else. So,
Wow.
yeah.
But
You
when
never
you're
know.
looking at it, I mean, like when you said that there's always power to help people, right? But what is exactly
Hmm.
a woman of influence to you?
I think someone who, to me, who will help others and share what she knows and mentor others, but also be a supporter and someone who is really authentic, like really knows who she is or doesn't mind learning and making mistakes and really being that kind of a role model. Not perfect, but someone who's saying, I've come to a certain place in my life and now I want to help other people as well where I can. And to me, that's what's important for a woman of influence.
And how are you exactly influencing in your area? I mean, you're a copywriter before, and you do so many things, interview guests on your show. How are you influencing?
Well, I think from what been told, and also when I talk to you, I think just even having the show and being open and meeting people and wanting to share the people that I meet, share what they're doing with other listeners. I think that is really something that I've come to appreciate how important that is. Because I thought that I didn't realize it was so important until people told me. So you may never know how you're influencing. You just don't realize how important what you're doing is.
But when you talk about influence, it's more of changing their mindset, or was it changing their actions? So, what is influence really?
I think changing mindset, I think to me is important, because sometimes people aren't sure. They're not sure what to do. And maybe you can help them to see that they have it within them, but they don't know. And they just may need a little guidance and support. So I look at influence as something positive and helpful. I'm always going to look at it that way. But I know sometimes with influence, it's more like telling people what makeup to use or what fashion to buy or what product to buy. And that's, I'm not putting that down. But I think there's different ways to look at how you can be of influence.
So, when you say that there are different angles and different ways, and what are some of the common myths that people have about influence?
I think that some people think that you have to be really rich and powerful to have it. Like you can't just be you can't have it and just be a regular quote unquote person. They think, oh, it's only those people who are big stars and on the pedestal and they're the only people, but that's not really true. The average person could be an influence too, I think.
And then what's the most typical reason why people fail at being influential?
That's a good question. uh,
Yeah, but because like you said, people think that being influential means they need to be rich, they need to have,
yes.
all the power in the world before they could influence. But
Yes.
sometimes it could be just little things. So what's the
Yes.
most typical reason why people fail at being influential?
I think maybe because they don't take seriously what they know, what they can contribute. Maybe they feel they have to follow the crowd, so maybe you could be of influence in your field, but you're thinking, oh, I can't contribute. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, what I say is not important, or you're just going to follow what a bunch of other people are doing. And so your influence doesn't stand out at all because you're not willing to step up into it.
Hmm. So when a person is not willing to step up, what are some of the specific obstacles for them to gain that power of influence?
I think first you have to start to have confidence in yourself and appreciate what you've done and what you can share. And without confidence, it's really hard to step up into anything.
Mm.
You if you put yourself down, you're not going to feel you have anything to contribute. And it's taking a chance, taking that risk. Because if you play it safe, a lot of times people never know what you have to offer. You won't know what you have to offer because you're afraid. You hold back too much. And you may have that one piece of information somebody needs.
Mm. And you think that confidence is the biggest issue that a lot of people may have?
Oh, definitely. 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 Because so many people have been told that what they think is not important. and or who knows what their life experience has been, and they have felt so down on themselves and they weren't appreciated, or the thing that they know how to do, someone said, oh, that's not going to make any money, so who cares, they don't know that they have gold inside of them, but they don't know it. So I think confidence is very important.
But what kind of support and resources you yourself personally have used in order to gain influence? I mean, because you've done tons of episodes of podcast, hundreds and hundreds. Would I say 1,000 already? Has it hit
1,000? No, it's still in the like 400s.
Yeah, but still hundreds of podcast episodes,
Yeah, I think that I've learned, and we were talking about that before. I've learned so much. It's like talking to you. I learned a lot, and with every guest, someone's going to say something that you may never heard before. Maybe you felt it, but someone else says it too, and you're like, okay, I didn't realize other people have the same feeling or they have the same experience. And then you go, oh, okay, maybe I'm not. What I'm thinking isn't so odd or strange, or you could feel more confident because you realize you have other things in common with other people, or even if you don't know their experience, you can learn, and learning that experience now helps you to be a more fully rounded person who can listen to other people, hear their input. You may not always agree, you don't have to, but you take in new experiences, and I think that's how you grow as a person. Mm-hmm.
When you're learning from other people's experiences, and there must be, of course, we must be maybe humble, or want to listen to people. But were there times that there were hurdles on your path when you were personally, trying to build your influence? Were there, roadblocks for you?
Yeah, I think that when I was working, like say on the book, and you have to go out there and put it out there, then you feel like, well, I don't know, how can someone help me? I don't know what's the first thing to do. So that's when I, hired someone who's an expert to help me, because I admit I don't know how to do this. Maybe someone else can help who does know the ropes on how to do it. So, but I also think it's because when I had the idea for the book, I actually finished it. And how many people have an idea for a book that they want to put out in the world, but they don't do it because they're afraid, or they feel like, I don't know how to finish, I don't know how to write, I don't know, but there's so much help out here. There are people who will help you. And so you don't have to, sit there and not know, you just have to ask the question, and you'd be surprised at the help you'll get. So I think the stumbling blocks for me could have been that I would have stopped and felt like giving up, because it wasn't easy to write the first book. Definitely not. And I didn't know quite what I was doing. So, but I had help, and that helped me to go on when maybe I would have wanted to give up.
And when you, I saw that, I heard that, you're saying that the spirit of not giving up, what compelled you to try again and again? There must be something that's within you, maybe a small voice, or was there some advice, or was there some mentors?
Well, I definitely had assistance from my mom, and she passed away last year. But she always was supportive, and I was always a writer from when I was a child. So she always knew that's what I wanted to do, and I would tell everybody I knew I was going to write. I was going to be a writer. I was going to write books, but I never got to it because I was held back. And finally, I just got to the point when I came out in corporate. When you have a life change, and then you go, I should do this thing I've always been talking about. Well, what are you waiting for? You have to get it done.
Yeah.
Because you tell so many people, and they're like, well, why haven't you done it? So I think it's a good idea to tell people. Sometimes it's a good idea not to tell everybody all your plans, but sometimes it is, because they're going to hold you accountable.
And would you consider this as a downside of being influential?
As far as having to produce?
I mean, basically, what do you think there are any downsides of becoming more influential? I mean, person like yourself right now who has reached out to so many women who have done so much writing, and you have your own show, your own books, and you appeared in Wall Street Journal. I mean, how cool is that?
Well, see, when I read that, I go, okay. But then when someone else says it, I'm like, okay, yeah, that was good. So, see, I'm still downplaying it because I think we tend to do that. But I think a drawback maybe for people who start to believe a lot of the, what can I say? If their head gets too big and they start to think that they're really more special than other people because I did this and I have that. I think that's where people sometimes they have a problem and they have a big fall because then they really change how they look at themselves and maybe they start to think, I'm better than these people because I've done this. And I don't think you can ever really do that. I think you really always have to stay open and be willing to learn and know I don't know everything, but I'm willing to say I don't know that.
Wow, that's so powerful. One of the things that I caught on that you said is about downplaying. You were downplaying for a moment. There were days that you downplaying yourself. Now tell me something about influence that few people ever realize. Perhaps elaborating on the point of downplaying.
Well, I think that people think influence and influencers will always out there and always know what they're doing and always know what the next step is. And that's why they always seem to have it together. Because if we think about influencers in our cultures in the world, their lives always look so wonderful and they're always in the right place at the right time and talking to the right people. But you don't know that maybe they have those doubts. They've had their rough times to get to that point. They've had their times when they weren't sure what to do, or maybe they have times when they make a decision and other people in the world are judging them because they feel like now, well, you should do this and you should do that. So I think that once you get to those points, then people project their own things on you. So what they think you should do and who they think you are and what you should influence and what you should endorse and how you should speak and what you should say, and so there's a certain responsibility that can come. I think if you don't know who you are as a person and you get turned around because maybe you may have a different opinion than some people may think you should have because now they think, oh, this is who this person is because I see them in the spotlight. And, so you really have to know who you are, what you're about, what your integrity is, I think.
Wow. Wow. Influence related with integrity. I think that's really very powerful. Yeah, because when we want to progress, we want to be grounded so that when we are up there, we still will not fall, right?
Yes.
So what do you think is holding women back to embrace influence?
Oh my goodness. I think a lot of, that's a big question, right?
Yeah, this is a big question. Yeah,
it's a big question.
Yeah, but many of my ladies in Soulrich Women are like, Janisha, I've got kids, I've got no time, and I'm not as beautiful as you, I've not makeup, like, oh my God.
I think women are kind of conditioned to be the support and to kind of stay back and the way we communicate is different with each other than maybe I think a lot of times men, it's like you go out there and you very boisterous and you say this and you don't really apologize. And women a lot of times always saying, I'm sorry about this, I'm sorry about that. And, being hanging back and not realizing the power that they have. And if you are, whether you have a family or not, you're probably doing so much in the family. You're probably doing so much yourself. You're for your family, for your friends. You're probably being called on to do a lot, and you don't even realize what you're accomplishing and the power you have from within you that you're using. That you go, oh, that's not important. That doesn't mean anything, and you don't even see it because I think society doesn't really tell us as women to stand out and stand up and claim that, which all the power that you have.
So do you think that what do you think is, or what do you believe is the most important element to success in becoming a woman of influence? I mean, having said that, they need to
Mm-hmm.
embrace, who they that
Mm-hmm.
beyond their roles and what the
Mm-hmm.
society define us as women.
Yeah, I think that's the hardest part because a lot of times women are judged so much on, like you were saying, judged on appearance or judged on the status of you married, you're not married, you have kids, you don't have kids. If you have a business, how much is it making? And there's there's all these judgments, and then in some cases, people are intimidated by women who have the success in the world. They think, oh, who does she think she is? Or maybe she's not feminine because she's, has a strong way of doing what she does, so they judge you by all these stereotypes of what they think a woman is supposed to be and starts to do. And I
Hmm.
think as a woman, you have to say, this is who I am as a human being, and I feel this way, and when I go out in the world, I have to keep reinforcing that to myself because you get hit with a lot of nonsense. People, I'll use that
Yeah.
word.
Yeah, I agree. I
you,
agree.
you
I second
know,
that.
you know how that can be. So you
Yeah.
have to reinforce and also hopefully be around people who will give you that positive support too.
Wow. What,
Yeah.
so when we said, we must look for that positive support, what do you think,
Hmm.
why do you think that influence is so important in today's climate, especially in
Hmm.
today's society?
Um, well, I see it a lot, of course. I'm sure you do too, when it's particularly online. Everything is influencers and influencers because I think with the global economy, which obviously we have, and everything being connected. Because I mean, look at us right now. We're having this conversation, and we're in two different countries and time zones.
Yeah.
Everybody's trying to get in out here, and there's so much noise, as they say. So for you to stand out in what you do, you
Hmm.
have to claim what you know. And I think because of that, the individual influencer becomes really more important because it's not just the big brands. At this
Hmm.
point, the person who may have a following online or have a show or books can now be someone who has fans who will say, well, what do they think? Should I buy this? Should I do this? How do they feel about this?
Hmm.
And I think with the social media, particularly now, we can kind of follow the people who we look up to and see what they're doing and saying. It may not be fair to put them on the spot like that because maybe they don't want to be, but that's kind of what's happened now. So I think it's become much more important to claim it if you feel like, I want to be looked at that way, to really claim what you think is your area of
Of
influence because it is
influence.
very important right now. Yeah,
Wow. So,
definitely.
Deborah, you're saying that claiming their influence, claiming their area of influence or their
Mm-hmm.
expertise, right? So, how do you measure influence? What is the bottom line?
That's a good question. And I had to think about that because to me, okay, like people will say to me, okay, you have your podcast, you talk to a lot of people, and I know you've done a lot of things in what you're doing, and people would say, well, you're an influencer, but then if you don't really think of it that way, like I hadn't really thought of it that way, so I'm like, I am. Oh, okay. So what do I do now? It's like, how should I influence you?
So,
you
is
know,
it people's definition of you? I mean, you think that it's people's perception of you, perhaps?
I think that we look at people who may be doing what we want to do or seem to be doing a lot of different things that we admire, and we'll say, "Oh, this person's an influencer," because I think we tend to look at other people and say, "Well, this person's doing all these things, but we may never look and see what we're doing." So I think it's kind of a double-edged sword when we're all looking to someone else I think you can be an influence if you're like inspiring someone. So maybe I could see someone who's doing something I really think is exciting and I may want to work with them or just even just follow what they're doing because I like what they're presenting. But at the same time, don't forget what you also can learn from them and maybe what you have to offer too. I guess what I'm saying, don't get lost in that where you're following someone else, but then you're not also seeing what you have inside too. It's kind of tricky.
Wow.
I think you can lose your own direction sometimes because I've done that, following someone in business who I thought I should be like, but maybe that's not right for you.
Wow. So Deb, have you ever dissociated yourself from someone who didn't mesh with your idea of influence?
I think I have probably years ago when I first started in freelancing, and there were people like say a women's organization, few organizations that I was a part of, and I didn't know any better, and maybe they seemed to know what they were doing, but then as you got to know them, maybe the things they were doing or the way they got there weren't quite lining up with how I want to look at things or how I want to do things. So, but I think you have to kind of learn that, especially if you're new and you're doing something you've never done before. The people who are doing it may seem like they are people who you want to be like. But as you get to know them, and maybe their mindset is kind of negative, or they don't really encourage a different idea than what they're used to. That's kind of what I found in this particular organization. The people seem to be very set in their ways about what they want to do. And at that time, social media was really, kind of gathering steam. So they weren't really participating in it. And I don't think the organization really saw a point of doing it. But I'm like, well, why not? Why can't we think a little differently? So at that point, I realized, maybe you just outgrow a situation. So then I wanted to kind of meet other people who I felt I could learn from. And that's kind of what led me to start the podcast.
Ah. Wow. And how did you become an influential person? And when did you realize finally that you are one? I mean, considering that's when you started your podcast, you talk about, don't lose your identity when we are embracing and looking and following other people's influence and building our own, don't downplay ourselves. So how do you become an influential person? And when do you realize that you're finally one? Like I talk about cats, right?
Put out some snacks.
Wait, no, it's not about cats, Deb.
That's how you influence cats.
Yeah. With food, with fish. They want the fish. But how do we influence others in the human world?
Wow. I think that's probably not as easy, because it probably depends on the people. Some people are really influenced and dazzled by what they think success is. So if if you're in the limo and you have all the jewelry and you are associating with the special people, then they think, oh, this person, what they say is going to mean more to me than what someone else says. But then other people, they just look at you as an influencer because you're doing things that they are interested in, like doing the podcast. Like I said, I just started because I wanted to meet other entrepreneurs. I didn't think about where it was going at first. So I didn't really think that what I was doing was being an influencer. I didn't appreciate the power of that, but other people like yourself have told me so. So I think that sometimes you're the last to know that you're an influencer.
Because you're doing things that people are interested in.
But the thing is, I started doing it because I was interested. You know what I'm saying? So it's different because you have a general interest in meeting people. So you're going to do the things that help you to do that. But I think for some people, they may think, well, if I want to be an influencer, I have to have this many followers on social media, or I have to use these products. I mean, and I'm not saying that's wrong, because there's many people who may look at that and go, yes, they're an
Yeah.
influencer.
Yeah.
So I think these days there's so many different ways to look at that right
Mm.
now, as to what you personally think is an influence for you. I like to look at it that way, as an individual thing. I don't really want to say there's one way to be that, but I could definitely say that I was probably the last one to realize it. I say that
Okay.
honestly.
So you were one of the last to realize, because
Yes.
people were telling you that, hey, Deb, it's awesome to read your article, to read your
Yes.
book, to read your blog. So do you believe that everyone has the potential to be a woman of influence?
Yes. I do. I really do. I really do. Because you don't, like I said, you don't have to be the person making 6, 7, 8 figures, and the person who goes to the club every night, the person who has, it always is perfect, because who is perfect? You don't have to be that person. You could be that person who just has a passion. And you
Wow.
just have the passion, even if a passion for, baking a cupcake.
Yeah, that's true. That's
That's
very true.
that's it, because you love that, and you're gonna bring your passion to it. Then why not?
Yeah.
That's how
And
I look at it.
when you said that you wrote your book, you did a podcast, and you said you didn't realize that you were the last person to know. Any specific steps? Okay, so we're talking about actionable steps that to what made you the influential person that you are today, even though you're the last one to know.
Okay, let's see. What steps do you take? The thing is, it's not a straight line. To success, or whatever you're doing, it's not a straight line. But
Yeah.
I think that it's more that you follow your calling or your art, or you say, if you were someone that say wanted to bake cupcakes, and you were like, one day I'd like to open a cupcake business, but people think that's silly, but I like cupcakes, and you just decided, I'm going to find out how to do this right. And one day you finally, are catering, or you have a store or whatever, you just went, you were led there because of what you felt in your heart, and what you felt passionate about, what you were excited about. So that's really very authentic to you, and how you enjoy doing things, and how you put all the passion into it. So people come and get your cupcakes, they're going to love it, because they taste all of that love you put into it.
Mm.
So I think the steps really are to listen to what you want, what you feel called to. But that's hard to do, isn't it? Because
Yeah, really
in
hard.
the world, you're always being called to so many things, and people are telling you, well, you should do this, and you should do that, and why are you doing this? And sometimes you're not sure that you're making the right move. I
Wow.
think it's really hard sometimes to listen to what you feel in your heart. You can get turned around a lot, because there's a lot of room for doubt. Everybody has doubts about where they should be heading. And I think a lot of society, a lot of the media tells you you're supposed to have certain things and be certain things. So, there could be a struggle between what you feel, and sometimes it doesn't line up with what you're told you should be doing. So I think that's why the steps can seem simple. You follow what your heart is saying, or you follow what your calling is, you follow what your passion. It can seem easy. Oh, that seems too easy, but it really isn't, because a lot of times you're going against the grain. You're going against what other people are telling you.
Wow.
So yeah, that's what I would say.
When you are taking steps to your influence, were there influences in your life? I mean, who are the influences? Your mom, you said that, right?
Yeah, definitely. She was a supporter of mine, and I've just been very fortunate to have friends around me who have been very supportive, because they also have their own dreams and passions. So we may get together and talk about what we want to do, or talk about different hobbies we may have, and so like I told you, I write science fiction and paranormal, and I have friends who love like Star Trek and things like that. So you always have somebody you can have fun with, or someone who can support you in the thing that you want to do or that you like to do. So I think that's so important, because that way you don't feel that you're out here alone. Because I think entrepreneurs particularly can feel that way, that you're on your own. Even if you have a staff, it may still come down to you or maybe a business partner or someone, but you may feel alone sometimes, that how can I do this? And I'm not sure. And you need to have that support and other people who bring other things to the table that can enjoy things you enjoy or support you, even if they may think you're a little crazy. They'll still support what you do.
How can my audience reach out to you?
Well, I have, as you know, many websites.
Yes, you do have a lot of websites. But tell us, which one can they find you on?
Well, dbaileycoach.com, where we're just looking at that blog post, is a great place, and you can learn more about me and read some other posts that I have, and there's a contact form there too, and also my email, contact@dbaileycoach.com, is a good email. And of course, I'm on Facebook. I have a page, facebook.com/women entrepreneurs. And I post the show, when the show is posted, I put an announcement there, and I put articles there as well that you can read, links back to different blogs that I have. And I'm on Twitter, as Deb BC as well. But those links are also on my blog. And of course, the podcast is dbcoach.podomatic.com. Is there, and there's also a link there for iTunes if you're on iTunes, and however, the easiest way for you to listen, if you'd like to listen in. As I said, also on Facebook, I have links there to listen as well. So if you go to that page and you see something about the show, there's usually a link that you can click right through to make it easy for you to listen in. So those are probably the best ways
to find you, right?
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so honored that we are connected, and I hope that I can continue to serve you as you build your dreams. And if you love this episode, and I hope that you did, rate it 5 stars. Give us that glowing review, because it will help more women around the world finding the Soul Rich Woman podcast. Alone you are strong, together we are unstoppable. Now share this with every woman who needs it, because this is how we are changing the world, one woman at a time. As always, get out of your comfort zone and go towards the dreams you've always wanted to achieve. For women who love the F word, being fabulous, having freedom, and financial independence. My dear soul rich woman, sending you my love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye for now.